are tuning into the Wild Folk podcast. If you love learning and interweaving health, self-growth, and making magic, this is the show for you. Hillary is a certified clinical Ayurvedic practitioner with the eye of a fine artist, specializing in customizing herbs, nutrition, and habits that support your body's unique cyclical rhythms. Sterling spends her time writing, teaching, and dancing with ideas at the intersection of neurodivergence and creativity, and she's building systems to assist you in manifesting a magical life where you are the hero of your own story on a planet that is thriving. It's prime time to climb out of the broom closet, my friends, because our Earth needs your wild magic right now.
Happy New Year, my friend. I am so excited to be here with you, having this conversation that we can share with basically anyone in the entire world that's ready to listen. And since this is the new year, at least according to the Gregorian calendar,
right?
And everyone is a little bit obsessed with releasing all the collective trauma that has been sustained and experienced over the past year or generation or century or millennia. I mean, who's counting? I know that you wrote a blog post on the necessary steps and your recommendations when approaching how to clear out and prepare to set intentions for the new year. And I would really love to hear you talk about it.
Awesome. I would love to talk with you about it. Yeah, clearing out. I think there's such a big focus on food and nutrition, like in mainstream, especially on social media, like cleansing and exercising. And it seems to be like that's where we just think that we need to cleanse. But I think it's really layered, and I think we also need to cleanse our space and cleanse our mind and cleanse our emotions. Like it's like a bigger, deeper, broader topic than just food and exercise. Do you agree?
That is so true. Yes, I agree. I noticed the knock-on effect as well for myself personally. I notice how much it helps me if I clear the clutter off my desk, or I'm a piler. I create piles of, I lived in your house. I create piles of strange things that I magnetize into weird little sculptures of life. And when even just if I move the piles around, when I consciously clear a space physically, I am way more able to approach a new topic or get my head around a thought form. I personally have been on a really intense journey with diet and orthorexia, really, and being obsessed with eating. And
say that last part again, because it cut out. You said orthorexia and being obsessed with eating.
Being obsessed with eating too healthy and really understanding that I actually damaged my organs by not being in balance. And I know that that's your specialty, is the mind-body balance and how important diet is to that. So it's interesting to hear you talk about how you think there's actually too much focus on diet when it comes to actually being able to fully cleanse. So I am super intrigued to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I had the same issue too, with like being so obsessed with being so pure and so clean and so healthy that it caused a ton of food allergies for me, and like a really reduced diet, which then over time depleted, like you said, my organs, and it messed up my hormones and all of that. And so definitely on the journey of recovery from many years of almost being like too obsessed with health.
I think it's an eating disorder. I really do. It's like absolutely detrimental psychologically, emotionally, and physically, and so common in the circles that we've run in. And really, it's an eating disorder that is okay to encourage. And that I think is really dangerous, especially with the social media stuff. Not actually great for everyone. And ketosis is your body responding to trauma and eating itself. And that might be effective, but that doesn't mean it's healthy.
Right. Right. And I'm like, maybe we should just talk about this for a minute because
Maybe we should.
because this actually seems like a really, really common denominator in things that I see. And yeah, like you said, like when our body starts eating itself, basically, it feels good because you lose weight and maybe you do have like some clarity and things like that because your body is literally eating itself.
Right. And we call it clarity. Retrospectively speaking, that's mania. That's what being in a manic episode feels like. That's what like a hypoglycemia high is. It's not really clarity of thought. It's your body boosting your cortisol and adrenaline and going, oh shit, do something. This isn't good.
Yeah, exactly. And over time, you just get used to being in a constant state of stress and trauma and like chaos for what? Like a couple less pounds, maybe.
A couple less pounds, a couple more followers, a couple good Instagram posts, a couple smaller bikini sizes. I don't even know. For me, it's interesting because it wasn't specifically about losing weight, so I didn't identify that it was a problem. Because
Right.
for me, it was an obsession about not putting dirty things in my body because I wanted to be healthy and clean. So I was
Right.
making this really intense judgment about what was good to eat and what was bad to eat. And I was judging other people about that too. But I thought because it wasn't about how am I going to look, it was about how am I going to be? How healthy am I going to be? That I didn't understand how much I was damaging myself. And I would make the choice to not eat if there wasn't a healthy option on a very regular basis that I could eat that was healthy enough. And so I was basically choosing to starve myself. But because I wasn't doing that because I wanted to look thin, I didn't make the connection that that's like really unhealthy and actually like bad and a little bit crazy.
Totally. And yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I think this like way of disordered eating, like you said, you didn't see it because it was more of like a mental process, less for your physical body. And I think it can really happen in ways of like mind, body, and spirit. I know that for many years of studying Ayurveda, it affected me on a really deep, like spirit level where I had so much guilt around like I can't eat anything aside from a very yogic pure diet because of the karma that I will take on because of that. But because of that, I was highly undernourished, and then like I didn't have any energy, and so I went for really dense high energy calories. I wasn't consciously doing that, but I ate so much nut and seed butters and so much cacao because so much because it's like it's pure and it's a plant food and it's healthy, but actually not in the quantity. Like we're not meant to consume that much nuts and seeds. And I would easily put down half a jar of nut or seed butter in a day. Like,
oh, me too, 100%. Every day. It was a regular thing. In 2 smoothies, I could go through half a jar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. And like I was a raw food chef, and I was so obsessed with health for years, and I developed allergies to every food that I worked with. Like almost every nut and seed, to where my body at one point I was eating something with almonds in it, and suddenly my body like flushed with this really intense feeling, and I felt like I was so itchy that it was like my blood. Like I couldn't actually itch on the surface because it was internally, like I was so itchy internally that I scratched my skin on this meridian, on the digestive meridian. I scratched it until I was bleeding. And I was like, okay, something is happening here. And so I got a food allergy test, and I was allergic to like a laundry list of foods that I worked with and ate every single day. So yeah, long story short, I think there's a huge issue with like the shame that comes, like the shame that kind of pushes veganism, bringing it back to like the spiritual aspect of like causing no harm with your food. But in causing no harm to like animals or anything like that, I was causing deep harm to myself. And then it's like this psycho-spiritual concept of like, well, do I choose to continue to harm myself so as to save other beings? Or do I nourish myself, in which case to take on the karma of eating animal products or whatever it is?
Chicken or the egg right there. That's wild. I had a similar experience. I haven't taken an allergy test. That's really interesting that you actually have scientific results that show you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you should not be eating those things that constituted almost your entire diet. And it's so funny too, because to me, it was the nuts and seeds, always my go-to thing, and cacao, crazy amounts of cacao. And so that's ended up manifesting in basically liver and gallbladder damage for me. I'm at the point where I cannot consume anything that has a high oxalic acid content without going into, what's it called? The Hixmer reaction. The thing that happens when you're cleansing and your body basically goes haywire and you feel achy, like you have the flu and you're going to die and your skin's falling off. That happens to me now if I eat kale, which was another huge staple. If I eat anything that's not cooked, like it's really, really intense.
Catch up with us on the blog at wildfolkwitchmuse.com to stay up to date with our latest book release and receive exclusive discount codes. Be sure to sign up for the email list. You are listening to a bite-sized excerpt of the podcast. Perfect snack time for your mind. For the full episode, subscribe and join the tribe. This episode segment is brought to you by the Witchy Wellness Weekly subscription. If you're ready for recipes, rituals, resources, and original artwork to up-level your craft and self-care, sign up to receive the weekly Witchy Wellness Kit at bit.ly/Witchy Wellness Weekly. That's bit.ly/Witchy Wellness Weekly. Everybody listening, we love you. Thank you for being here. Also, keep an eye on the Wild Folk Witch Muse Etsy shop for customized wellness workbooks, witchy wall art, and all sorts of creative, crafty resources and wild inspiration. And all these things will be linked below.